So welcome to today's coffee talk. It's my great pleasure to have with me Rena Nigam, the founder and CEO of Meytier, and I might have to ask you if I'm pronouncing your name and your company correctly. But before close enough, all right, I will take it. So why am I so excited to have you on today? So I've been working a lot with companies in closing their equal pay gaps, right? That's at the core of what we do at PayAnalytics. But that leaves the broader question of the unadjusted pay gap, or meaning, when we just look at the average in pay, whether it's between genders or minorities or any other groups, there is often a big gap, right? And it's often blamed on the representation, or is driven by the representation in the company. And then companies often express to me the difficulty in hiring diverse talent. And then when I met you and you told me about what you're doing, I got so excited. So I decided I have to invite you to chat with me on the coffee talk. So welcome. And I will just kick this off with asking you if you can tell us a little bit about what you do and how you actually started attacking this problem.
Well, first of all, thank you for having me, Margaret. So excited to be here. Big admirer of what you're doing, and thrilled to chat with you about Meytier. So I started Meytier after about 2 decades in technology companies, technology services, technology software companies. And the real genesis for it was the fact that I felt companies were mostly very well intentioned about having more women in their organizations come in, as well as retaining more women in the organizations. But there seemed to be no solutions that were trying to solve this through technology, right? So we started toying with the idea of building something, an end-to-end platform that could actually help more women come in, especially at mid to senior level positions, because it's well known that if you solve that problem, then the rest of the organization's problems get solved from a diversity perspective more easily. And that's how Meytier was born. Our mission is to make hiring more equitable, help companies reach more untapped pools, and we started with gender diversity as our first focus, and essentially use technology to improve and expand opportunities for women that are applying to jobs. So if I could step back and tell you how we do it.
Yeah.
Companies routinely miss out on great candidates for multiple reasons. The ask can be not very well defined and can be nebulous. There is sometimes a lack of pipeline in certain industries and certain functions, but usually this is very overblown. It's a lot determined by where you look, who sees your ad, how you look, more than just a lack of pipeline. And from that point on, the first gate of screening is where you either have very rudimentary keyword-driven algorithms, or you have AI-driven algorithms that have been trained on the current base. You have overstuffed job descriptions that deter women from applying. And then a big focus of our intellectual property was around the fact that societally women are conditioned to understate their case. So they're not claiming accomplishments and skills at the same level that the norm, and which means that they don't even make it to the second step, which is interview. And there you get other problems that creep in, whether it's unconscious bias, whether it's lack of standardized evaluations. So Meytier basically is a technology that solves for all of these problems. Pipeline, the way you screen, the way you write a job description, discovering skills that someone may not have stated, more standardized ways of hiring, more solutions to offset bias in hiring. And when you do all this, you improve hiring overall, make it equitable for everybody, but you also improve the chances that diverse candidates are making it. So that's a little bit about the genesis and how we are solving for this problem.
So I, being a nerd, those who watch this podcast, they know. So being a nerd, something that really stood out to me was you said something about discovery. So using technology to discover features for potential future employees. So to me, that sounds fascinating. Can you elaborate a little bit on that part?
Sure. So, in layman's terms, we always explain and say, hey, you may not claim that you are an expert machine learning, professional, but we can deduce from the kind of work that you have done that you are fairly proficient at it. We use natural language processing. We built our own skills-based ontology that can do this. And in addition, the other thing we've done is we also do a lot of cohort analysis of similar career journeys and comparing them to the resumes that have been presented. We look for, we call it looking for latent potential, whether it is skills, whether it is the fact that you were doing great, but you may just have been in an organization where there were not opportunities for you to rise. They were, maybe you self-selected yourself out. So things of that nature kind of just bubble into what we call a Meytier score, and then you can deep dive into why you scored in which areas. So that's kind of how we solve this problem at a high level.
It almost makes me want you to run your algorithm on my LinkedIn profile.
I will do it.
And see what my skills are that I'm not representing.
Yeah, and there's another thing that we are doing now, Margaret, that I'm excited about, and we launched that in 2 weeks. So on the other side with candidates, what we do, first of all, we never charge candidates, and we run like these free sessions where we show them what a technology output of their resume would be, but we also tell them how to just represent themselves better. And we did find a lot of hesitancy in claiming skills, sometimes underconfidence as they approach the job process. And we realized that 2 simple questions actually get the best answers. And one question is, what would someone else say about you? And when you ask people to say to answer their career narrative or their journey in that manner, you get a more accurate description. So now we also are launching it in a way where we can capture that information. The other question we often ask is, what would your super boss say about you? Because then you strip away a lot of the unnecessary detail and get to impact and contribution and role. So now we're also trying to get those kind of, if you might, unstructured data into it as to create a whole profile of a person. But yes, I will analyze your resume and send it back to you.
Sounds great. And then, so I know we're coming up on time, but maybe, so I know you worked with a lot of different companies on broadening their pipelines. Can you speak to, or are you allowed to speak to kind of the results that you have seen?
Yeah, I can speak to that. I mean, we typically get called in either to solve for diverse slates in the company or to actually solve for diversity hiring overall. I won't name customers, but a third of our customers are financial services companies, asset managers, another third are professional services, and then software companies. And with most of them, I would say what we've done is we've managed to move the needle on the specific problem that we were trying to address. It could have been mid to senior level talent in technology, or it could have been senior level talent in product. So we've seen improvements of, in certain cases of 30%. But you have to say that, but I will say that it does take a lot of deep thinking in the organization and a culture of truly accepting this and adopting it in order to truly make a difference. I don't know if you've seen all of these news reports about one of the banks getting slammed for using diverse slates only as a checkbox, and then it meant that too many people who were applying for a job never even had a chance at it. They were just there to fill the slate. So, I guess in a nutshell, much more needs to be done. But in our case, we've been very heartened with the results that we are seeing in actually solving problems for them.
Awesome. we have to stop here. I think we're at 9 minutes. So, but thank you so much
No,
for coming in and chatting with me.
this is awesome. Thank you for having me.